Good morning again. I first want to thank New York State Inspector General Lucy Lang and her team for working together with us on this important public corruption investigation and prosecution. You see the slide over there with all 7 of the defendants who have been arrested. We're here today to announce the indictment of 7 defendants for a cheating ring within the Garden City branch of the Department of Motor Vehicles that compromised government licensing processes and had a terrifying potential to put unqualified drivers behind the wheels of commercial trucks. This was an organized breach of public trust and the trust of millions of drivers using Long Island's roadways. A ring of DMV employees working together were manipulating the commercial driving licensing exams. They allowed a single individual to cheat the system and take multiple tests for no-show applicants. Our investigation showed that those applicants were eventually given CDL, commercial driver's license permits, that they did not earn and were not qualified to hold. At least one was issued a full CDL license, which he used to operate recycling trucks in the town of Hempstead. Another fraudulent permit holder was previously convicted of a vehicular assault, a conviction wholly due to his poor driving that landed him in jail for 6 months. We're talking about drivers who don't know the rules of the road and who prior to this had never passed a CDL test. They were potentially sitting behind the wheel of a 20,000-pound tractor trailer. This is a public corruption prosecution, but make no mistake, this scheme posed a real danger, a threat to our streets if it wasn't stopped. These people were driving on the roads where our children are riding their bicycles and walking to school, and the potential danger is unfathomable. Kanisha Middleton, Jamie Middleton, Tawana Whitfield, and Toya Mitchell were each arraigned on multiple charges, including corrupting the government, tampering with public records, falsifying business records, and impairing the integrity of government licensing examinations. If they're convicted, those defendants face up to 2 1/3 to 7 years in prison. This case first came to us from the New York State IG's office after they received allegations from a supervisor in the Garden City DMV that other employees at the branch were processing CDL permit applications without the actual applicant ever sitting for the test. Let me just explain quickly the process for getting a CDL license. Applicants must first provide proof of identification. Usually it's their Class D license, the license that most drivers have in their wallets, as well as proof of legal status in the United States. A motor vehicle representative is then supposed to verify the person's identity, match the license provided with the applicant's photograph and personal information from DMV records. This is key. This was the linchpin to proving that the person sitting for the test is who they are, or who they say they are. Then after verifying that information, the representative assigns a testing station to the applicant in the exam room to take a test. An online system automatically generates and stores the results of each exam taken on the terminals in that room. If the applicant passes, they can choose to wait in line and see another representative to pick up their permit or come back for it later. Once the information is inputted by a motor vehicle representative, the applicant has their interim permit. Importantly, no new photograph had to be taken at that point. As we began our investigation, we naturally went to the videotape. We reviewed surveillance footage of the Garden City DMV and the workstations where motor vehicle employees were processing these applications. It became almost immediately clear to us that something was wrong. On 7 separate dates between March 2023 and September 2023, an individual, appearing to be a woman dressed differently each time, was given access by employees to take 10 permit tests. Have those pictures up? 9 for CDLs and 1 for a Class D license. We allege that individual was Jamie Middleton, the sister of DMV Supervisor Kenesha Middleton. There you can see she's in disguise, coming in different clothing, even going so far as to wearing a fake mustache, beard, glasses, mask. Almost like a spy in an espionage thriller. Jamie Middleton donned multiple disguises as she claimed to be different male applicants sitting for the CDL test. You can clearly see in these surveillance stills Middleton's long painted fingernails, her phony facial hair. These disguises were all about selling this scheme for the cameras and to the other honest DMV employees who weren't in on it. On one particular day, May 23rd, 2023, Middleton allegedly took exams for not one, but 2 applicants. Renee Sardoui, a Town of Hempstead Department of Highway employee, and Omesh Mohan, both charged by indictment today with tampering with and falsifying records. Middleton was disguised in a mask, hat, glasses, which did not match the photograph of the applicant she was pretending to be. Nevertheless, she was admitted to the exam room by motor vehicle representative Tawana Whitfield, where she took Renee Sudhi's exam. And less than 5 minutes after she finished the first test, wearing the exact same clothing, she returned to Whitfield, who pulled up information for another applicant, Omesh Mohan. Again, she was given access to the testing station, and for the second time that day, she took another CDL permit exam, now supposedly as Mr. Mohan. In the following days, both Omesh Mohan and Renee Sardoui went to different DMV locations in Springfield Gardens and Bethpage, where they were provided with their paperwork and given their CDL permits. They never set foot in the Garden City DMV, never clicked a single button to take the required test. None of the applicants did. But we had one thing in our favor. The age-old rule that cheaters never win. Neither of these men realized that their lies and deceit would only get them so far. It only got them the permit, because every driver must take a road test to get their CDL exam. And we have evidence that Mohan did in fact try to pass a CDL test but failed, because neither man was issued that license. Of the 9 CDL tests Middleton allegedly took, she passed 8 times. Thankfully, only one of those applicants was issued a full CDL license. That person happened to be a Town of Hempstead sanitation employee. His name is James Nurse. He picked up his fake intern permit on August 16, 2023 at the Massapequa branch of the DMV after Middleton took his exam. Nurse was issued a full CDL license on September 28, 2023. And according to our investigation, he later used this CDL license in connection with his employment for the Town of Hempstead Sanitation Department, driving recycling trucks. A government employee licensed only through a lie, driving a massive truck through our streets where our children are playing and riding their bicycles and walking to school. It is disturbing and incredibly dangerous. It takes much more than simply operating a truck to drive it safely. You have to understand the rules. Licensed CDL drivers must know the weight limits, braking mechanisms. Even in ideal road conditions, a truck with air brakes going 55 miles an hour needs a stopping distance of more than 300 feet. A single second hesitation or misjudgment could be hazardous, and in bad weather, it could be catastrophic. Equally chilling in this brazen cheating scheme was that these DMV employees, government public servants, demonstrated that for the right price, they'd allow anyone to get a CDL permit. And that breakdown, that lack of integrity, poses a risk to us all. Our investigation into this scheme remains ongoing as we try to identify any additional participants. I thank you, and I'm going to hand it over to New York State Attorney General Lucy Lang, and then we'll take some questions.
Thank you, DA Donnelly. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Lucy Lang, New York State Inspector General. The state employees charged in this 51-count indictment sold out not just the safety of our fellow New Yorkers, but they sold out their oaths of office. As DA Donnelly shared, following a referral from the Department of Motor Vehicles, my office's investigation uncovered deliberate and coordinated crimes, a shocking betrayal of the public trust. This is now the second corruption scheme my office has uncovered this year involving DMV employees who saw public service not as the privilege that it is, but as a permission slip for corruption. When it comes to operating any motor vehicle, let alone commercial vehicles whose power and sheer size we all see on our roads every day, DMV employees are responsible for ensuring that every New York driver meets the standards of competence and safety required by the law. It's a tremendous responsibility to the public whom they are sworn to serve. The process for acquiring a commercial driver's license in New York State, as you heard, is extremely rigorous, and it exists for one fundamental reason: to make sure that only qualified New Yorkers operate commercial vehicles whose presence on our roads carries heightened risks. Bypassing that safeguard is far from a harmless shortcut. It is a dangerous threat to public safety. Families, commuters, and pedestrians across our state depend on the integrity of the licensing process. And let me be clear, integrity, doing the right thing even when you think no one is watching, is not optional when it comes to the issuance of driver's licenses designed to protect New Yorkers and our families. The greed of the state employees charged today is an affront to the committed public servants at DMV and throughout New York State government, who uprightly do their jobs every day on all of our behalf. And that kind of public service is exemplified by my team, who I thank for their diligent work on this investigation, including Investigative Counsel Alex Lane, Investigator Matthew Abellino, Senior Investigator Donnelly Gaza, Downstate Deputy Chief of Investigations Dave Ragazzi, Downstate Chief of Investigations Ben Defebaugh, Long Island Deputy Inspector General Gene Carsey, Chief Deputy Inspector General Michelle Bayer, and Chief of Staff Brian Hayward. That kind of excellent public service is also exemplified by the Nassau County DA and her team, and we thank them for their partnership, and we thank DMV for raising the alarm here. Together, we are committed to holding accountable anyone who would jeopardize New Yorkers' traffic safety and any public servant who would flout their oath of office for profit. I urge anyone who suspects any such conduct in New York State government to report it to the New York State Inspector General at 1-800-DO-RIGHT. Thank you for your time and attention to this critically important case.
Are there any questions?
How long did James Nurse, was he on the road as a working with the town mascot?
At least over a year and a half. We informed them when we found out that he was not correctly licensed and he should not be driving. And what they did from there, I'm not aware.
Can you just explain, was he the one involved in the accident and the one who did 6 months in jail, or is that something?
No, that was another of the people who had someone take the exam from me. Oh, Mahesh Mohan.
So, but
Mahesh Mohan.
I'm just confused because you said he never got a license though, or?
He got the permit, but was not able to pass the road test.
So then what crash did he have? Was he driving a truck?
That was a prior incident that he was arrested for, vehicular assault. Had nothing to do with the CDL license.
He just wasn't a good driver.
No, I would say not.
What was the financial motivation of these workers? How much were they getting paid?
Between $1,500 and $3,000 for every test that was taken.
And what was the thinking, what was the point of just getting a permit if they then couldn't then qualify for the license?
Well, they didn't realize that there was a two-step process. They thought they were paying the $1,500 to $3,000 to actually be handed a CDL license. Not realizing you actually have to get in a truck and drive it and show that you can pass the road test.
And did they show up for the test and fail?
Yes.
Tia Donnelly, what do you think of all these disguises? I mean, like, how would you characterize what she was doing there?
You know, what she was doing was trying to, there's cameras obviously all over DMV. She was trying to trick the camera and trick the other employees that were not involved in this scheme and pretend to be a man coming up to sign up for this test.
But what do you think of the quality of what she was
We think it's pretty poor. The fingernails kind of gave it away.
Does Middleton have a CDL? How did she become so proficient at the tests?
I do not believe she has a CDL. She's just a good test taker.
Tia Donnelly, what was the total amount of money that they raked in from this?
Well, we know that she took over 10 tests, so, 3,000.
And how long, I don't think you said this, sorry if you did, how long can you drive with the permit? Like, is it only good for a year?
I don't know. Does anyone know? Okay, so the understanding from my team who did this investigation is that you can drive with the permit for 1 year.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So Kenesha Middleton was the one who took the tests, or was it Jamie Middleton? Which of the?
Jamie Middleton, Kenesha was the supervisor at DMV in Garden City.
Who was like in on it, you're saying?
Yes,
And then the other?
and Jamie was her sister, is her sister.
And what did the others really do? They just also?
So they work the counter when you come up and you hand your paperwork in. They're supposed to go on the computer and verify that you are the person who's going to sit for this test. And they did not. They just allowed this fake person to go in and take the test.
And
Is
then
it believed
did they get, what was the benefit for them for turning a blind eye? They got paid?
They got paid by Kenesha.
Right, so the 1,500 to 3,000 was paid by the truck drivers?
Correct.
Okay.
Whoever was looking for the license.
Got it, and then the DOD workers, including the Middletons, split up that money? Am I
Correct.
getting that right? Okay.
Correct.
And then it was busted by a tip specifically?
So another DMV supervisor at the Garden City branch noticed something and said, something's wrong here. And he notified the IG's office, who looked into it and then notified us. And we finished the investigation together and were able to go into the grand jury and get a 51 count indictment.
And how are you feeling toward that whistleblower right now?
I think he's great. Maybe he should put in for a promotion.
Do you know what it is that tipped him off to it? If he noticed, the disguise looks like an employee of his, or what was it that kind of made him realize what was going on?
He noticed on one of the days she was taking the test, June 9th, I believe, that it looked and appeared to be a woman taking the test instead of a male who was supposed to be taking the test. That's what tipped him off.
Is it believed that they somehow advertised? How did the word get out that they were doing this? And will there be any charges against the actual drivers who solicited their services?
Yes, the drivers have been charged. They are part of this indictment. We believe, and as I said, this investigation is ongoing, that they were approached somewhere in Hempstead and offered the service of someone taking the exam for them.
You talk about, you've seen a lot of scams,
Okay.
how sophisticated, I mean, there's a lot of different layers here that all have to be in on it for it to work. But is this overly sophisticated? Is it a common thing? Or, I mean, how would you characterize the sophistication of this?
Well, I certainly hope it's not a common thing, because DMV, as the IG said, it's so important that licensing be done correctly. But they saw an opening to put this scheme together. You know, she would pay the counter worker $150, just let her go in and take the test. You know, and they got away with it for a short while.
I mean, how many different layers is there? You walk in, you get paid, you go to the desk, you're paying, then, so is it like 3 or 4 different levels, layers of criminality?
Well, you go into one counter representative and you say, I'm Ann Donnelly and I want to take the CDL test. They're supposed to pull up my driver's license and compare my Class D license picture to me. So what they were doing was just pulling up the license and, oh, okay. Then they give you an assigned seat in the testing room and you go in and you take the exam. She would sit for the exam. As I said, one day she actually sat twice. Came out, went back to the counter, and back in 5 minutes later.
So without the whistleblower, this wouldn't have ever been called, right? I mean, because it would just, who's gonna really think to notice that this is going on?
Exactly.
And how long did it go on for, and do we have any idea how long this might have continued had the whistleblower not spoken up?
So we're unclear on the exact time frame, but all the dates we were able to uncover were in 2023.
Was there, have the DMV employees, were they fired?
I have an answer for that. Hold on 1 second. That's right. They're on administrative leave.
And is there any connection?
Paid or unpaid, do we know?
Unknown.
What's the status of the case right now? They've been arraigned, they've pled not guilty?
Yes, they've been arraigned, they pled not guilty, and I believe most of them are next week. November 6th and November 12th are the next dates they will be in court.
One more?
Is there any connection between this ring and the one that the Inspector General discovered in Staten Island in July?
Not that we found, although similar in nature, but not that we found in our investigation.
Are these misdemeanors, felonies, what are these charges?
Felonies.
They're all of them or just some of them?
We can get you that, I'll get you the whole breakdown of it.
And Tia, just really quickly, do you think there could have been more times, like are you looking for any more info, or is this kind of shut at these incidents?
It's ongoing, and we're looking for any info we can get.
So if people have info,
Absolutely.
okay.
Could it be going on for regular driver's licenses, not only?
We only know that she took one regular Class D licensing test for someone else.
You said she took 10, how many tests?
She took 9 for the commercial driver's licenses and 1 for a regular Class D driver's license.
And besides the one driver who ended up, becoming fully licensed, were any of the others able to ever get behind the wheel of a truck?
No, because they couldn't pass the road test.
So they
And
could,
he should not have been behind the wheel of a truck because his permit was gotten illegally.
How do you think he was able to pass the road test?
I think because he worked for the town of Hempstead in sanitation, he got a little on-the-job training before he took the road test.
so they couldn't drive with a permit.
For a year, you could drive for a year with the permit.
So but that's the question, did any companies hire them to drive with a permit while they were working toward a full license?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.